Hello, everyone. I'm John Favreau. Thanks for sending in all your questions about The Mandalorian and Grogu and The Mandalorian and Grogu Fortnite Watch Party Island. I look forward to what you have asked. My favorite thing about Star Wars and Fortnite was that we had already used a lot of the tools, the Unreal Engine, and the tools that Epic Games has created around gaming as part of our planning process for when we were making The Mandalorian as a TV show. We also had a lot of tie-ins for other characters and other seasons where we were dropped into battle passes, as whether it was The Mandalorian and Grogu, Ahsoka, Boba Fett. So it was fun to collaborate on this particular project because I had already gotten to know a lot of the players and the people, and both of our creative teams were used to collaborating. The thing that's fascinating to me about the Watch Party Island is how much our art department and Doug Chang and Andrew Jones, they were really involved with this as though we were building assets for the volume wall. Because remember, we use a lot of game engine assets for doing the in-camera visual effects on when it was a TV show. On the film, we had much more time and we used other techniques, but we were building essentially game levels for every scene that we would do for the show that were filmed on this video wall. And so when you see the textures, when you see the environments, the scale, it's very accurate to what we would actually use to film. Now, of course, with a Fortnite Island, you also want to make it playable. So we worked and collaborated with our partners at Epic to make it something that would be fun for gamers, because we want to be able to drop people in and have them get to work and have fun with team play in that battle royale setting. We also wanted to create other little environments and pockets that weren't there that would play into things like having our amphitheater so that we could actually screen within the Fortnite Island level. The most surreal part of working on Star Wars at all is just that I'm working on Star Wars. I was 10 years old in the theater when the first one came out. I was an usher in the movie theaters when Jedi came out. Then I got to know Dave Filoni, who was working on Clone Wars at the time. I was sound mixing the first Iron Man film at the Skywalker Ranch. Even being at the ranch was surreal. And then eventually getting to pitch and then work on the TV show version of A Mandalorian story. And then I remember filming the end of season 2 was surreal. Something about when R2-D2 rolled onto the stage that I had to actually, it was so overwhelming for a moment that I really was thrown and actually stepped away for a minute. And even just meeting George Lucas, having George Lucas visit the set and hold Baby Yoda in his hands, though, that was surreal. And then, of course, now on the film, being a director. I don't know if I could really identify one thing, and this is one of many projects that I've worked on where I feel still I get snapped back to my younger self and getting the perspective of that I get to actually tell stories like this and work with such great, talented people. I think he does wear socks. I'd like to think they're green, but they're probably brown. The idea for Grogu was, I wanted to tell a story about a Mandalorian who's a bounty hunter, who's just doing his job. And that bounty hunter encounters a bounty, and then when he sees it, because it's Yoda's species, now here's your conundrum. What does he do? For television, you want to have an underlying dynamic that can be explored over many, many seasons. Now, of course, now we're doing a film, which is a much different prospect. And here, for the first time, you're seeing them as partners. And so we do a bit of a hard reset, and we, in that the dynamic has shifted. It's organic to what has happened before, but this is a new dynamic that you haven't seen. That was what led to the creation of this character. But it also, we see that the character has changed quite a bit now that we're hitting a new medium for storytelling around these characters. For the film, there was a lot of opportunity to build practical sets. To be honest with you, I was an original trilogy kid. That was when I find that people connect with Star Wars most if the era of Star Wars that hits the age that they are when they're, in their just becoming teenagers, seems to be the most, that sort of 10 to 13 range. The opportunity here to tell the stories for that on the backdrop of what had come before is really compelling. And the idea that we had this context of characters that we had created and had existed in Star Wars before us also made a very fertile opportunity. One of the challenges when we were doing the TV Mandalorian for streaming was, how do you create something that feels as cinematic as what George and the other filmmakers were able to create with much more time. Part of how we did it was we were very limited in the types of worlds we could present, the type of characters we could present. We leaned into a lot of practical, which works well for Star Wars. We used the volume wall to create backdrops using primarily game engine technology to help fill that in, and it was a really good magic trick. But there were certain types of characters we couldn't explore and environments we couldn't explore because we just didn't have the time or resources. Having fully CG characters were very limiting. We had Zeb for a few shots, and it was really nice to show that character and connect those worlds, especially with Dave Filoni being an executive producer, and present him in live action in a way that honored what was built in animation and making Star Wars this interconnected set of stories. But here we were able to take that character and make him one of the lead roles, give him big action sequences, lean into the performances, the voice performances that are consistent with animation, but now we're making it photoreal. Also, Rada the Hutt, to be able to make a fully CG Hutt that isn't just sitting there, but is athletic, can fight, building the musculature, building the rigging, and animating in a way that feels like you're looking at something top A-level CG quality. Those are things that we weren't able to do, as well as building the practical sets as you would have in the old versions of the movies. We did a lot of digital work. Here we're able to do a lot of practical work. I think the most impactful part of the process is the collaboration with other people who understand these characters and understand Star Wars. To me, that's what gets us over the top. When things work out, it's because everybody's working together, bringing their various perspectives, and us collaborating in a group to figure out what's the best story to tell and how will it be, and what's a story that the Star Wars community is going to connect with too. And usually if it's something that us as a group we like, it usually resonates beyond. What's nice about working on a project like a Star Wars project is it already is a nexus point of gaming and film. It's not hard to take a Fortnite experience and a Star Wars experience and make them align for both Fortnite players and also Star Wars fans. But I think that's just the beginning of the exploration, and I think that we just have to figure it out by trying things and seeing where people come to, where they like to dwell. At the end of the day, it has to be driven by the people who are coming through, by the guests, by the visitors, by the players, by the audience. And that's what we're looking to, and we're just trying different things out. And so this experience that we're doing is like, let's see if we really lean into making that background something where people might want to walk around, even if you're not in the middle of if it's not a set piece battle. What if it's will you want to come here and linger and just explore and check stuff out? In 1977, it looked to me like Han Solo shot first.